Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're tackling a request that's both fascinating and kind of unsettling.
Oh,
Yeah, we're going to dive into allegations of violence against a prominent figure
okay.
and try to understand, why anyone would support someone accused of such serious misconduct.
Yeah, it's a complex question for sure.
It really is.
Requires us to look beyond the surface and consider a range of factors,
Right.
from individual psychology to even societal influences.
And to help us with this deep dive, we've got excerpts from Proof of Cruelty, Donald Trump's Decades of Violence.
Okay.
It's by Seth Abramson.
I've heard of this one.
Yeah, in this book, it really doesn't hold back.
Really?
It's packed with really detailed accounts and legal analysis, and it paints a very disturbing picture.
And what's interesting about this book is that Abramson himself is a former public defender.
Oh, wow.
So he uses his legal expertise to dissect each incident,
Okay.
explains the potential legal charges, and offers context from his experience, in the criminal justice system.
Wow. Okay, so let's unpack that.
Yeah.
So the book starts with Trump's childhood.
Okay.
And even then, there are claims of bullying and aggression. Like Abramson describes incidents of Trump throwing rocks at babies.
What?
Yeah, and even having a secret stash of switchblades in elementary school.
Seriously?
Seriously, it feels like something out of a true crime podcast.
That's wild.
I know. And these early accounts, while shocking, are presented by Abramson as the foundation for a lifelong pattern of behavior.
Okay, I see.
He argues that Trump's privileged upbringing may have shielded him from consequences, allowing this alleged pattern to just continue unchecked.
Interesting.
And it gets more serious as it goes.
Oh, no.
The book details numerous alleged assaults,
Oh, wow.
ranging from physical altercations with classmates to accusations of sexual assault and even rape against women.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty heavy stuff.
Yeah, that is really serious.
It is, and what's striking is the consistency in the accounts from different women.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they describe similar behaviors and patterns, lending a disturbing degree of credibility to their claims.
I see.
And then the book takes us into Trump's personal life, detailing alleged assaults against his first wife, Ivana,
Okay.
and even his own son, Donald Jr.
Wow.
Yeah, it even delves into his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein,
Oh, God.
raising questions about his potential involvement in sexual exploitation.
So if we connect this to the bigger picture,
Right.
Abramson argues that these alleged personal transgressions foreshadow Trump's actions as president,
Okay.
suggesting a disregard for the rule of law and a willingness to use aggression to achieve his goals.
He does get specific.
He does.
He points to incidents like the assassination of Iranian General Soleimani
Great.
and the events of January 6th as examples of this alleged pattern playing out on a global stage.
That raises an important question for us to consider.
What's that?
Can someone with a history of alleged violence be trusted with immense power? What are the implications for a society that elects such an individual? It's a question that goes beyond partisan politics and speaks to the very core of leadership and accountability.
The book also claims that Trump has used his wealth and influence to threaten and silence his accusers,
Really?
making it even harder for victims to come forward.
This highlights the power dynamics at play.
It does.
Victims of abuse, especially when the abuser is wealthy and powerful, often face immense pressure to remain silent.
Right.
It's a chilling thought.
It is.
It makes you wonder how many stories remain untold.
Yeah, and Abramson doesn't let the media off the hook either.
What do you say?
He criticizes their coverage of these allegations, arguing that they often downplay or dismiss them, focusing instead on Trump's celebrity status rather than the gravity of the accusations.
What's fascinating here is that this points to a larger societal issue.
Okay.
How do we as a society address allegations of violence,
Yeah.
particularly when they involve powerful figures?
Right.
Do we prioritize sensationalism over substance?
I don't know.
Do we allow wealth and influence to shield individuals from accountability?
Good questions.
These are questions we need to grapple with.
Yeah, they really are.
Let's shift gears a little bit and maybe delve into some specific incidents that are highlighted in the book.
Okay.
One that really stands out to me is an alleged attack on a classmate during Trump's time at the New York Military Academy.
The book claims that this was an actual attempted murder.
That's what Abramson argues. He uses the legal term attempted second-degree murder.
Wow.
And he meticulously describes this alleged altercation.
So what happened?
So he claims that Trump, in a fit of rage,
Okay.
tried to throw a classmate out of a second-story window.
Oh my gosh, that's terrifying. What kind of evidence does he present to support such a serious claim?
Well, Abramson draws on eyewitness accounts from former classmates
Okay.
who were present during the incident.
Okay.
They describe Trump's anger, his physical actions, and the potential for serious harm, had he succeeded.
So multiple people corroborate this account.
That's right. And remember, Abramson's background as a public defender gives him a unique perspective on these types of allegations.
Right.
He argues that the eyewitness testimonies combined with the details of the incident
Yeah.
meet the legal criteria for an attempted murder charge.
Okay, but if this incident was so serious,
Yeah.
why wasn't Trump held accountable?
Well, that's a question that Abramson kind of explores throughout the book.
Okay.
He suggests that Trump's wealth and his family's influence played a role in shielding him from consequences.
Really?
He implies that they may have used their power to, downplay the incident
Oh, wow.
and protect their son from legal repercussions.
So we're seeing a potential pattern here,
Yeah,
starting in childhood, where alleged violence is met with a lack of accountability.
exactly. And this pattern, according to Abramson, continues into adulthood
Yeah.
with numerous accusations of violence and assault against women. Many of these accounts share a disturbingly similar description of Trump's behavior and methods of intimidation.
Let's talk about those allegations.
Oh.
The book specifically mentions an incident with his first wife, Ivana.
This is where things get even more disturbing, Ivana, in a sworn deposition.
And for our listeners who don't know.
Right. A sworn deposition is a formal legal statement given under oath.
Got it.
Accused Trump of raping her.
What?
She describes a violent attack fueled by rage,
Oh, my God.
where she alleges he pulled out her hair and sexually assaulted her.
That's horrific. But as with the incident at the military academy, why weren't there any legal consequences?
Again, Abramson points to the power dynamics involved.
Okay.
He argues that Trump used his wealth and influence to pressure Ivana into retracting her allegations.
Really?
He even provides details of a legal settlement that effectively silenced her.
So a pattern of alleged abuse followed by a pattern of alleged cover-ups and intimidation.
Precisely. And Ivana's story, sadly, isn't unique.
Oh, no.
The book goes on to detail numerous other allegations of sexual assault and harassment
Jeez.
from a variety of women, many of whom describe similar patterns of behavior from Trump.
It's honestly overwhelming to hear about all these accusations and disturbing details.
I know.
But let's go back to the original question that sparked this whole deep dive.
Okay.
How can we understand the continued support Trump receives from a segment of the population?
Right.
Even with this information out there, how do they reconcile these allegations with their perception of him?
That's the million-dollar question. And as we've discussed, there's no simple answer.
Yeah.
It's a complex interplay of factors, but Abramson does offer some insights.
Like what?
He's highly critical of the media, particularly those outlets with a more conservative lean.
Okay.
He claims they've consistently downplayed or dismissed these allegations,
Oh, wow.
often choosing to focus on Trump's celebrity or political maneuvering rather than addressing the substance of the accusations.
So instead of holding him accountable, they've inadvertently provided a shield, allowing his supporters to cling to a certain image of him.
Yeah.
That's completely at odds with the reality presented in the book.
That's one way to look at it. Abramson also brings up this fascinating concept called moral relativism,
Okay.
where some individuals justify Trump's alleged actions by comparing them to perceived wrongdoings by others.
Interesting.
It's like they're saying, well, everyone does it, or he's not as bad as so-and-so.
It sounds like a way to minimize the severity of the accusations by creating false equivalencies or deflecting attention away from the issue.
Exactly. And this ties into a psychological phenomenon known as cognitive dissonance.
Uh-huh.
It's that mental discomfort we feel when we're presented with information that contradicts our deeply held beliefs.
Okay.
Sometimes it's easier to rationalize away uncomfortable truths than to reevaluate our entire worldview.
So in a sense, these supporters are protecting their own mental state
Yeah,
by dismissing or downplaying information that challenges their positive view of Trump.
that's a possible interpretation. Abramson also delves into the powerful influence of tribalism and identity politics. He suggests that for some supporting, Trump has become less about his individual character or actions
Right.
and more about aligning oneself with a particular group or ideology,
I see.
about loyalty to the tribe, even if that loyalty requires overlooking or excusing behaviors that would be condemned in others.
So it's almost as if the accusations themselves become irrelevant because they're perceived as attacks on the group rather than on the individual.
Exactly. And this is where the rise of partisan media and echo chambers comes into play.
Yeah.
Information gets filtered through a very specific lens, reinforcing existing beliefs and making it difficult to engage with alternative viewpoints.
It's fascinating and disturbing at the same time.
It really is.
We're talking about a situation where reality itself becomes subjective,
Right.
shaped by the information we choose to consume and the narratives we embrace.
That's a powerful way to put it, and this deep dive into the allegations against Trump, as unsettling as it is,
Yeah.
reveals a fundamental challenge for our society. How do we have meaningful conversations about accountability and justice when there's such a profound disconnect in how information is perceived and processed?
It's a question that goes beyond partisan politics and speaks to the very heart of how we function as a society. We've spent this deep dive unpacking some truly disturbing allegations against Donald Trump, exploring a pattern of behavior that Abramson argues spans decades. But the question that keeps coming up, and the one that kind of sparked this whole exploration, is how can anyone knowing all of this still support him?
Yeah, it is the elephant in the room, isn't it?
It really is.
And Abramson definitely doesn't shy away from it.
Okay.
He dedicates a significant portion of the book to examining the factors that contribute to Trump's enduring support,
Right.
despite the weight of these accusations.
Okay, so let's dig into that. What are some of the explanations that he offers?
Well, one key factor he highlights is the role of media,
Okay.
particularly those outlets catering to a more conservative audience. He argues that they've consistently downplayed or dismissed these allegations, often focusing on Trump's celebrity or political maneuvering rather than on the substance of the accusations.
So instead of holding him accountable, they've inadvertently shielded him from scrutiny, allowing his supporters to maintain a certain image of him that's divorced from the reality presented in the book.
Exactly.
Wow.
He also delves into a concept he calls moral relativism,
Okay.
where individuals attempt to justify Trump's alleged actions by comparing them to perceived wrongdoings by others.
Okay.
It's a way of minimizing the severity of the accusations by saying, well, everyone does it, or he's not as bad as so-and-so.
Well, like creating false equivalencies to deflect from the issue at hand.
Exactly. And this ties into a psychological phenomenon known as cognitive dissonance.
Uh-huh.
That mental discomfort we experience when confronted with information that contradicts our deeply held beliefs.
Right.
It's easier to rationalize away uncomfortable truths than to completely reevaluate our worldview.
So these supporters are, in a way, protecting themselves from that discomfort.
Right. By dismissing or downplaying information that challenges their positive view of Trump.
That's one way to understand it. Abramson also explores the powerful influence of tribalism and identity politics.
Okay.
He suggests that for some, supporting Trump is less about his individual character or actions and more about aligning oneself with a specific group or ideology.
Interesting.
It's about loyalty to the tribe, even if that loyalty demands overlooking or excusing behavior that would be unacceptable in others.
So it's almost as if the accusations themselves become irrelevant because they're seen as attacks on the group rather than on the individual.
Precisely. And this is where the rise of partisan media and echo chambers becomes so significant.
Right.
Information gets filtered through a very particular lens, reinforcing existing beliefs and making it difficult to engage with alternative viewpoints.
So we're essentially talking about a situation where reality itself becomes subjective, shaped by the information we choose to consume and the narratives we choose to embrace. That's the challenge we're facing. This deep dive into the allegations against Trump, as unsettling as it's been, exposes a fundamental problem. How do we have productive conversations about accountability and justice when there's such a profound disconnect in how information is perceived and processed?
It's a question that extends beyond this specific case and speaks to the very fabric of our society. If we can't agree on a shared reality, how can we possibly address these complex issues and hold those in power accountable for their actions?
Yeah, this deep dive has certainly raised more questions than it's answered.
They really have.
But it's given us a lot to think about.
For sure.
The nature of power, the role of media, the psychology of belief, these are all critical factors that shape our understanding of the world and influence the choices we make,
Right.
including who we choose to support and elect as our leaders.
It's been a heavy but important journey, and it's left me pondering how we move forward. How do we bridge these divides? How do we rebuild trust in information? And how do we ensure that allegations of this magnitude are taken seriously and thoroughly investigated, regardless of the individual involved?
Those are questions worth reflecting on.
They really are.
And they're questions that we'll continue to grapple with as a society.
Well, listeners, we've reached the end of this deep dive, and it's certainly been a thought-provoking one. We've explored some disturbing allegations, analyzed potential explanations for continued support despite those allegations, and raised some challenging questions about accountability, justice, and the very nature of truth in our current world.
It's clear that these issues aren't going away anytime soon, and it's up to each of us to engage with them thoughtfully, critically, and with a commitment to seeking a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world around us.
Thanks for joining us in this deep dive. Until next time, keep questioning, keep exploring, and keep searching for truth, wherever it may lead.